I'm so excited to be talking books tonight. So, specifically, what we're talking about tonight is the role and importance of beautiful editions of books. So, not just having books in a home, which, by the way, there's really good research. Some very robust studies have been done on how important it is to have a home with books. I remember one time a parent saying to me, like, oh, we don't need to have books in the house because we can always go to the library. But there's something, which I love libraries, but there is not a competition between having a library that you can visit and also having books that a child owns or that parents own. And having a lot of books in the house has a direct impact on student learning. It has a direct impact on vocabulary development. It has a direct impact on just the atmosphere in the home. So I want to share tonight a couple of ideas. First, I'm going to be sharing some fabulous editions. In fact, I'm a little bit worried about the weight on my desk right now because it is so piled up with books. But I'm going to share some beautiful editions. I'm also going to share some rationale for how you choose these books. Like, how do you decide which books are worth having a beautiful edition of? I'm also going to be sharing how can you find them without breaking the bank. All right, so I'm going to start with a book that is actually still available at a very reasonable price, even though it was given to me in 1976. So in 1976, my father gave me this book, and it's very hard to read because he wrote in black on dark blue, but it says, Lisa, all my love always, Daddy, Christmas 1976. So I was 10 years old and I got this book, and I'm 55 now, and I've had this book all my life. The illustrations, I mean, it's not in perfect condition because I've read it. It's got some water staining, but the illustrations are absolutely gorgeous. I studied them for hours when I was a kid. And so I can say with a surety that 10 years old is not too young to be given a nice book. Now, this book, I just added it on the list I have. So if you're on Facebook, I put it in a comment. If you're in YouTube, it's in the description, a link to where I've gathered gorgeous book editions I recommend. And this one is still available. You could buy it for about $10 on Amazon, a used copy. But these were published by Grosset and Dunlop, and they are a specific edition. They were called the Illustrated Junior Library. And this came out in a series of books that were designed to let families build a library of quality literature for children. So this is not only an example of one I recommend, but also it is an example of what makes a good book to have a beautiful edition of. And that is a book that you loved as a child. I lost almost all of my childhood books. This is one of the only ones I have. I lost almost all of my childhood books in my mother's divorce from my stepfather. And I've spent a lot of my adult life collecting those books back. And so and I shared them with my children. So books that you loved as a child are ones that are worth having in either beautiful editions or the specific edition that you loved as a child. Now, unfortunately, a lot of us grew up when they were publishing books on really inexpensive, high acid paper. And a lot of those books the pages are yellow, they're literally crumbling, and those editions are not worth owning. I mean, cut off the cover and frame it for decor if you like, because like seriously, the old original Wrinkle in Time cover is the only cover. Am I wrong? So books you loved. I'm going to like stack these on the floor. Okay. Next, I've got a couple of editions to recommend. So Puffin actually makes two different versions. So this version are the Puffin Classics Deluxe version. So this is Peter Pan. This is Wind in the Willows. This is Huck Finn. All of them, you can see, this is The Secret Garden. Anne of Green Gables. They have A Little Princess. All of these books, these Puffin Classic Deluxe editions, all of these are a cover that is, it feels like canvas, but it is hardcover. And they are illustrated with line drawings, not color illustrations. These books are a very nice size. They're not too large. I would say, I have a ruler right here. These books are all the same height. They are, it looks like they are like 7 inches by 5 inches. So 7 by 5. And you can buy them individually. So you can buy Anne of Green Gables, or you could buy The Secret Garden, or they also come in boxed sets. So those I just took out of a box. And so the thing that's nice about these editions is that the covers are styled very unique, specific to the book, reward the reader, meaning that if you've read The Secret Garden, you know why the key here is important. They're absolutely lovely. And when they are in the boxed set, they're really beautiful. Now, I don't know that I'm putting them back in the order that they came in. Actually, I think maybe I almost did. But then they look like this, and they're gorgeous. And this set actually lives right here behind me. And I see it every morning when I come to my desk in the morning to do my journal and my Bible study. I see that set of books. You can find beautiful editions of books you loved as a child that have the original cover, but are not the original print, meaning that they're not going to have that high acid paper. They're going to be in better shape. So an example of that is The Borrowers. So The Borrowers was a book that I loved as a child, and I loved the illustrations. These illustrations are still in this edition that is being published now. So this cover looks the same, but it is a better quality edition. So that's another thing that I recommend doing is if you loved a cover, get a reproduction of it, not exactly the same. So in addition to books that you loved as a child, books worth having in a beautiful edition are books that they love. So I'm going to give you an example of that. Actually, I'm going to give you 2 examples of that. The first example of that is Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day. So I originally purchase all the time, essentially, when I'm buying picture books to read to children, my children or my students, I buy the paperback version of it. And I mean, sometimes people give me a gift of the hardback, but I usually start with the paperback. I'm looking for a couple of things. How often do we really read it? Do they really like it? Are they carrying it around? Because if I can buy the paperback for, $6.95, I'm not going to spend $18.95 on the hardback. However, if they love the book, it's worth getting the hardback because hardbacks are much more durable. It's not just the fact that the cover is hard. It's that the binding is stronger. It's not going to fray. Obviously, a lot of them have a dust jacket that protects the book. And I think that it's worth having nice copies of books that they love. It means that they're more likely to last into their adulthood as well. So my oldest son has 2 children, and he has books that he read as a child that he is now reading to his children. And the reason that's possible is because when they fell in love with the book, then we would get the hardcover as, like a gift or something. So that's a tip. I'll give you another example of a set that we have like that, which is, I have to grab it off this chair because it's a big box. This is a set. You see, I shook my whole desk. This is a set. I got to hold it up. This is the Harry Potter set. So we're huge Potterheads. I'm a Ravenclaw. You can actually see my wand boxes here behind me. But this set of books is truly gorgeous. Even our hardcover copies of Harry Potter are so worn, so many of the bindings broke, that not that long ago I purchased this set because we had worn out even our original hardcovers, even though they were in hardcover. Partly that happens sometimes. That will happen if you have very large hardcovers. The larger the book is, the weaker the binding, and you have to treat the books well. You can't just leave them. You would never want to take a book and open it and turn it and lay it flat like that. Don't do that. That will break the binding of even a very well-made book. So books you loved as a child, books that they love, those are worth Teacher Likes Books says they've had to replace Harry Potter several times. Yes. I don't even know how many copies I bought of the first one. Next is books that you're going to use. So you may not want to wear that book out. So for instance, this is a beautiful edition of Beatrix Potter. And we started out with small books of like The Tale of Peter Rabbit and The Tale of Benjamin Bunny. But we ended up reading them so often that they wore out. And in order to prevent them, because we're using them, in order to prevent them from wearing out, then I decided, okay, it's worth getting it. So it has the original illustrations, but it's in a larger format. It's also a stronger binding. So if I know that there's going to be a book that we're going to use a lot, then I'm going to buy a hardcover of it. I'm looking to see if I have another book that falls into that category. No, I think that'll do. Like, that's a good example. Next are books that are just beautiful. So books belong in a home. I don't know how many of you saw the photo I posted today on Instagram, but those are books I own that I use as decor. There's not a room in my house, including the kitchen, that does not have books used as decor. And so, and the reason is because I think that books add to the true soul of a home. And I hope that doesn't sound like too crazy new agey, but when you walk into a home where there are books there, especially if you're a reader, but even if you're not, they add to it. To me, they're as important as plants in giving life to a home. And so one of the reasons to have beautiful editions of these books is because it makes it a wonderful thing for your home. So I want to show a couple of beautiful editions. This is a series. So these are the Chiltern. Chiltern is the name of the publisher of these, and they're a British company, but you can order these on Amazon. They have these Chiltern editions. It's hard to describe how gorgeous they are. They have gilt edging. They have the cover is, I don't know if you can see angle, that it's actually somewhat three-dimensional. You can feel the rough, like these are raised off of it. The pages are slick. I think you can catch that shine. The pages are absolutely gorgeous. They have a ribbon bookmark. This is Tess of the D'Urbervilles, which was my first Hardy that I ever was introduced to, Thomas Hardy. And I think I was 13 when I was introduced to Tess of the D'Urbervilles. And so this book has meaning to me, but it's just gorgeous. So it has a place, like books like this have a place. Now the Chiltern editions are not all black. They're different based on the book. So again, in Facebook, there's a comment with a link to where you can find all of these editions and more. So this is actually my favorite book. My favorite novel is Middlemarch by George Eliot. And this is a Penguin Classics. So these are canvas cover, hardcover. They're beautifully done. They look old, right? In the best sense of the word. And they look vintage. I guess that would be the right word to use, is they look vintage. And these Penguin classics are beautiful. Now, I don't have it linked because they don't have it on Amazon, but Barnes and Noble also makes an entire set of beautifully illustrated, nice books. These Penguin classics also have the ribbon bookmark, which to me is like, if you have a ribbon bookmark, that's a nice book. The binding is beautiful, and this is one of those sets that if you line them all up together, they look gorgeous. So the Puffin ones are the same way. And in fact, there's another version of Puffin. So I showed you the Puffin, these Puffin classics back here, but Puffin has another version. These are they're called Puffin in Bloom. And these Puffin in Bloom, I have a few of these as well. This is Heidi, A Little Princess, Anne of Green Gables. You know, I have to have a lot of copies of Anne of Green Gables, and I have to have a lot of copies of Little Women. And all of these Puffin in Bloom, and again, you can order them individually or they have box sets, but all of them, the Puffin in Bloom, they have this florals on the binding, florals on the cover. They don't have a ribbon bookmark. These are much more for children, much more designed for children. Inside, they have this print, so that they're designed to be a children's library. So if you have a younger child and you're trying to build a library, the Puffin in Bloom is truly gorgeous. And let's see, another reason to have beautiful copies of books is to add to the experience of the reading. So that can be because the illustrations are gorgeous, or it can be that just picking up the book, I'm just adding books to my desk right now, adding that the experience of holding that book feels like a more intense experience when the book is beautiful. So it gives you a feeling that something special is going on. And while my Kindle is loaded with literally hundreds of books, and I use my Kindle every day, there's a very different experience to pick up a physical book that is beautifully crafted and beautifully illustrated. And many publishers, Harper, Penguin, like I don't even want to start listing them because I'll leave people out, but they're publishing gorgeous editions of books that deserve to be read. So I want to share an example of one where having a beautiful copy of it adds to the experience of the reading. And that is this version. This is published by Templar of The Wind in the Willows, and they have other ones as well, but this Wind in the Willows copy is truly gorgeous. Let me show you inside what you're going to find. First of all, it's got those slick pages again. The cover is that rough canvas hardcover with some gilt on it. It's really beautiful. Inside, you'll find illustrations like this, kind of pen and ink, but you'll also find colorful illustrations as well. This allows books to be accessible to younger children. Like I can start reading The Wind in the Willows, which is a chapter book. I can start reading it to my granddaughter younger. In fact, she's spending the night here in a couple of weeks, and she's 3 years old. And we're going to start reading this book. And because it is so beautiful and because it is so beautifully illustrated, and it has a lot of illustrations in it, then I can introduce it to her at a younger age than I would be able to if that were not the case. Another one of those, here's another one of the Penguin classics. I'll just show you. Just like the Middlemarch, this is the Tenant of Wildfeld Hall. If you're not familiar with it, it's an Anne Bronte. It's an Anne Bronte book. One of my favorite Brontes, which truly isn't saying much because I mostly just like Charlotte. But I love Jane Eyre, and which I'll get to. But because I have a gorgeous edition of Jane Eyre. But the Tenant of Wildfeld Hall is an Anne Bronte, and I like that one too. But you see how they go next to each other. They look different, but they're similar enough that, you know, I didn't order these as a set, but they go together anyway. The Tenant of Wildfeld Hall is a pretty approachable Bronte. So if you teach middle school, high school, or if you have a middle schooler, one thing I would suggest is that there is a version of it. If you have Amazon Prime, they have the movie version or a series of Tenant of Wildfell Hall that was made, you know, it's like Masterpiece Theater, BBC or something, very nice production of it. And my suggestion, and this may surprise you coming from someone with a master's degree in teaching English, is that when there's a book that is a difficult book, right? Like, and I don't think there's any getting around the idea that books that are written in archaic language, books that have accents written into them, like you're going to find Yorkshire accents in here. When books are written that way, when they were written a couple of hundred years ago, it's going to be harder to approach. And so they're more challenging. It makes them more rewarding as well, but they are more challenging. And my suggestion for that is, if a good film version exists, watch that first. So I will recommend Tenant of Wildfell Hall, showing on Amazon Prime. I don't know where it's available right now offhand, but there is a fabulous BBC production of Middlemarch. It was a series, a mini series, and I think it aired in the 80s. And I watched it when I was like 12 years old. And I read Middlemarch and fell in love with it at 12 years old because I had seen the movie version first. So I do recommend that. Other truly gorgeous. Now, these are not cheap. So I'm going to talk about where you can find some of these less expensively. But the next two books I'm going to show you are incredibly gorgeous, and they're not cheap. I haven't found them. These are limited editions published by Thomas Nelson. They're called the Seasons editions. So some books they considered spring, some summer, some fall, some winter. So this is Emma, Jane Austen's Emma. This is all paper cut. It's covered in plastic to protect it, but it's paper cut. And they even give you this absolutely gorgeous matching bookmark that is also paper cut to go in it. This book is one of the most beautifully designed and beautifully covered books I own. This one, if you look inside of it, they even say this is book 2,641 of 10,000. They're only going to make 10,000 of these. They're only going to print 10,000. So this is Emma. I have Emma, which is just, as someone with a master's degree in English, I'll tell you, quite possibly the perfect novel. Not my favorite novel of all time, but definitely like in form, novel form, a perfect novel. And then my favorite Jane Austen is Persuasion. So Emma was spring, Persuasion is summer, and this was book 8,149. So they're almost done with Persuasion. So if you want Persuasion, go grab it. But look at how beautiful, with so many things that resonate with the reader. Truly gorgeous, these Thomas Nelson. I can't even say enough about how gorgeous they are. These are a little pocket beautiful edition. They have the gold edge. They have the ribbon. This is Jane Eyre. I love this little pocket version. These are the Macmillan Collectors Library. They have loads of titles. My next acquisition of this on my wish list is Far from the Madding Crowd by Thomas Hardy. But these are truly gorgeous. Now, the print is tiny, but these are wonderful. I have so many copies of Jane Eyre. I read Jane Eyre so often. I reread it. And I love having these really small versions of it because they fit in a pocket. So like in your purse or something, or in a backpack. And these are inexpensive enough that you can give a child a beautiful edition and let them carry it around and not be worried that they're going to mess it up. So you can have beautiful books that add to the experience. Another reason to have a beautiful book is to give it as a gift. And so that makes this a perfect opportunity to mention the gift I'm giving. I just bought a second copy of this version of The Secret Garden. This is published by Harper. It's illustrated by Tasha Tudor. It has those gorgeous Tasha Tudor illustrations in them. The slick pages, very, very beautiful edition. I love how they've designed it at the tops of the pages, how it looks. It's just beautiful. I'm going to give this away. Like I said, I bought one. And when I decided to do this live stream, I bought another to give to somebody. So throw in a comment if you would like to be the one who wins this. And I'll just pick someone who's here tonight and I will mail them this copy of The Secret Garden. So The Secret Garden is an example. This copy is an example of how a book can make a wonderful gift. So a lot of families have a tradition that at Christmas, maybe they give 4 gifts and one of those is a book. I think books, I've been giving books to my children and my grandchildren since the day they were born. And literally the day they were born. I have a picture of me holding my granddaughter on the day she was born, reading a book to her. So books make beautiful and wonderful gifts. And I strongly recommend giving books as gifts. Another reason to own a really good quality book, and I hope somebody comments because somebody needs to win. You can comment in either Facebook or YouTube and I will be able to see it. So another reason to, Amanda, that's my favorite girl's name. And you know what? There is a beautiful book called Mandy by Julie Andrews. And if you can get a hold of a first edition, it is gorgeous. So, yes. Well, thank you so much for commenting. And so the last reason that I have to own a beautiful book, other than, what goes without saying is just the pleasure of owning a beautiful book. Amanda says she too is obsessed with beautiful books. But in addition to that is that they might have other materials in them or commentary. So this is a version of 1776 by David McCullough. But this version is special because it's a collector's edition. It has facsimile copies of all of the documents that are referenced. So facsimiles of letters written in George Washington's hand, facsimiles of maps. And as you turn the page, and this book, this was actually given as gift. My mother gave this as a gift. Let me see if she inscribed it, but she gave this as a gift to my son. So this one actually belongs to my son. If he just returned from an army deployment and now he's going to law school. So he was not going to have his own house for a while. And I'm not sad because I get these books, but like facsimiles of newspapers, and they have these just beautiful vellum envelopes, and you pull the stuff out and read it. And what an amazing, how amazing, like letters written by Abigail Adams, and just so gorgeous. And like the different, you actually have to peel this off. And I looked on Amazon today just to see, because the last time I looked at this book, it was like almost $100. But I found today a little trick, and I put it in that link. So that list of gorgeous book editions, again, in the description of the YouTube video and in the comment on the Facebook video, I found that if you go to 1776, click on hardcover, and then click collector's editions, you can find used copies of this. And I ordered one today for a friend, and I ordered a copy that was used like new, and it was like $30. That is a bargain. This is gorgeous. So one of the things about having a book like that is that it will, kids who are interested in history, it will pull them in. And kids who are maybe not quite as interested, sometimes having that ancillary material can be helpful. So Amanda says, she'll look for that title. When she got on, I was showing Emma, and that's her daughter's name. You know what, Amanda? We can be friends because I had all boys, but if I had had a girl, her name was going to be Emma Grace. So I never got a chance to use that name. The last thing, and I'm sorry that this is shaking, it's because these books weigh so much. I want to show you one last set of beautiful books, and then we will, and then I'll tell you some tips for where to find them reasonably priced. So one of the reasons to have beautiful sets is to have gorgeous sets of books that mean something to your family. So I'm a big believer in reading aloud to children. I have read all of the Lord of the Rings, all of the Chronicles of Narnia, all 9 Little House books, like on and on and on. So many, Mrs. Pigglewiggle. I have read out loud to my children hundreds of novels. And they mean something to us. They bind us as a family. And I feel like I honor that memory by having gorgeous copies. So for our family, we're huge Potterheads, but we're also huge Lord of the Rings fans. So I have these gorgeous copies of all the Lord of the Rings books. These are published by HarperCollins. This version, I've linked it, like I said, it's got the beautiful gold lettering, and the books themselves have illustrations, and they are just so beautifully done, just so beautifully done. So this is The Hobbit, The Fellowship of the Ring with Rivendell on the cover. And again, just absolutely gorgeous. And some of the illustrations in here, just truly perfect. So this, I have the whole set of, well, not the whole set, but the 4 main, The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings trilogy in a gorgeous set. And another, I'm gonna mention one other reason to have beautiful editions of books. In our guest room at our home, I will always keep a nice book there and have a little sign that says the house recommends. And you know what I need to do? I'm going to put, so I always take these videos and then I make a blog post about them on the Gifted Guru website. And I'll be doing that with this in the next few days. And when I do, I'll upload that. So you could print it out for your guest room too. The house recommends, so you can share. So Teacher Likes Books says that Harry Potter and Percy Jackson now have oversized illustrated versions, which are beautiful but pricey. Yes. And in fact, there's another one I'll mention since you mentioned that, is that there is the annotated Alice. And there are a few of these annotated versions of classics. So it's a little different than what you're talking about, but it made me think of it. So you've got Alice in Wonderland, but they've got all these notes about like what they're talking about and little things. And for gifted kids, these annotated versions are fantastic. So this is the annotated Alice, but there are others as well. So when you get those oversized illustrated versions, you make the book accessible to younger children. You also, it's an heirloom. All right, so let me share what I promised I would share, which is where to find them. So you can definitely find good quality used copies at physical used bookstores. So I like to do that first. I like to look at whenever I'm in town, like I'm going to be going, I'm so excited. I'm going to Billings, Montana again. I haven't been to Billings in several years because of the virus that must not be named, and I'm getting to go back. And Billings has a wonderful used bookstore. I will definitely go there while I'm there to see what I can find. So I'm going to go with used bookstores that are physical stores first. And then if I'm looking for a specific book, and that's where I'm just going to go browse and see what I can find, right? But if I'm looking for a specific book, then of course you're going to find them in places that you probably would guess to look for, right? Like Amazon, people list used books for sale. eBay, people list used books for sale. You can even find them sometimes on like Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace. But there is a particular place called, I'm copying the link just so that I make sure that I get it exactly right. I'm going to put my own comment in here. In the chat. So this is in the chat of the YouTube. In Facebook, I'll just have to tell you, the website is called bookfinder.com. And at bookfinder.com, you put in the name of the book, and it will tell you where you could, like, where the best price is online. Now, let me give you a pro tip for using Bookfinder. And that is, every published edition of a book has its own ISBN number. So if you want this version, then what you want to do is find the ISBN number of that version and search that on Bookfinder. If you just search Lord of the Rings, or if you just search The Two Towers, it's going to pull up all kinds of editions of it. So find the ISBN number of the copy you're looking for. And you can search in Amazon that way as well. I don't know if you've ever had this experience where you're looking in Amazon or Barnes & Noble or somewhere, and it's pulling up a title, but it's not exactly the one you want. Use the ISBN, and that will help you. So Bookfinder is a good place. I would also recommend having an Amazon wish list or a Barnes & Noble wish list, or even in a Google Doc, because maybe you found it someplace like Abe Books or Powell's or one of the other independent resellers, and you love it. So my suggestion is have a list of ISBN numbers of books you like, along with places to find those books, and have that be in like a Google Doc, and share that when it's, you know, birthday or Christmas, right? So let people know, I would love these beautiful books. And I think that another thing to keep in mind as you're looking for them is that, like, I've piled all these on my desk, but I've been collecting books for a very, very, very long time. And so it's not something that you're going to just go out and buy every beautiful edition you want. What you're going to do is just pick one or two, start with it, and then choose in order by one of the purposes that you want that book to serve. So like maybe you have enough books for decor, and now you're looking for books that you loved as a child. And then while you're hunting for them, because that takes time, then you're going to start getting better editions of the books that you read to your children or that you had read to you. So take your time, use Bookfinder, and don't overlook things like garage sales and stuff like that. That, like I say, stuff like that. Flea markets, garage sales, estate sales are even better than garage sales, because a lot of times they have old copies of hardcover, really nice novels. Now, one thing I would say is, if you're going to spend the money to buy a good edition of a book, spend the money to buy a good quality copy of that edition. So what I mean is, like, if you're looking on Amazon, it will tell you, if you're buying used, it will tell you what the quality is. And always look for ones that are either used like new or used that are in excellent condition. Don't do acceptable, don't do good. Because when you do that, you're going to find that for a few dollars more, you could have had a book that, you know, doesn't have writing in it, doesn't have torn pages in it. So you want to make sure you do that. So that was all I had for you guys tonight, unless anybody has questions. But what I'm going to do is, because I had Amanda and Teachers Like Books who both commented, and you two were the only ones, I'm going to send you both a copy of that Secret Garden book. So what I want you guys to do, Teacher Likes Books, I know you have my email address. So just, and I actually have your address, so you don't need to send me anything. I will mail that to you. I have your address. Or you know what, just go ahead and do it again, because in case I can't find it in my email. But shoot me your address. And then Amanda, just shoot me an email at lisa@giftedguru.com. Send me your address and I will mail you that copy of The Secret Garden. So, and you are very welcome. Thank you. Thank you guys for watching. I hope that you got some ideas of some beautiful books. Check out that list on Amazon, add to your own wish list, or see where you can find it. I gather them all on Amazon because that's an easy place for me to do it, but you don't have to buy them there. You buy them where you can find them in all the different places. But I hope that this night has given you some ideas about the role of beautiful books in your home. And don't feel guilty about money spent on a good book. You know, you can buy a very beautiful edition. Even the list price, the cover price of this is $16. I mean, that's not that much. You can buy it cheaper than that. But $16 for something that my grandchildren will have is not unreasonable and is not out of line. It's like really the price of a movie ticket and a half, right? So when your books are your vice, I need a t-shirt, right? Oh, I know, it's a thing. Just a girl who loves books. But I would say, like, a lot of times people feel guilty when they see a book, because we were raised at like Scholastic book fair sales. I don't know if any of you did Scholastic book fairs, and you know, for $1.50 you could buy a book, and there's nothing wrong with that. I love Scholastic book fair, but there's also a role in our lives when we can afford it, or to receive as a gift, or to give as a gift, a really beautifully crafted book. A beautiful book is a joy, and it's a joy that lasts for decades. When the last time I was at my mother's house, I saw in her bookcases that she has books that I've seen on her bookcases since I was a little girl. And it is just a part of a child's life, a part of their memory, a part of their growing up. So they're an invitation. A beautiful book is an invitation. So thank you so much for joining me. And I hope that you'll let me know, tag me. If you're on Instagram, tag me with pictures of your books. I really want to see them. So thank you again so much for joining me. And now I've got to go put all these books back before my desk breaks. So thank you guys so much. And I will be seeing you next time. Now, I have another live stream coming up in a week or so, which will be office hours. So if you have any questions about differentiation or gifted education in general, or the care and feeding of gifted children, shoot me an email so I can answer your question in the office hours. So you guys have a wonderful evening. And if you're watching a recording of this and you have any questions, obviously you can make a comment. I will see that. Or you can shoot me an email. And if you came in late, the recording of this will be up within like a minute or two, and you can watch the beginning again. So take care. Thanks for joining me, and happy reading.